lecture. Okay, welcome everyone to IE26 Engineering Economy, and today's lecture is about cost estimation and indirect cost allocation, which is chapter 15 in our textbook. This chapter, it is slightly different than the previous chapters when we were talking about time value of money or break even. The cost estimation itself, it's a different course under economy or under engineering economy. You can find courses called costing engineering or cost engineering or cost estimation engineering. These all related to cost estimation. And cost estimation, if we start to identify the wording or translating the wording, what you expect to learn about cost estimation, or what is cost estimation you think it means? If we hear from you. Anyone? Cost estimation or costing? What do you think cost estimation means? Prediction of cost, okay. In Arabic we call it سوم، سعر السوم أو التقدير السعر. Exactly as Umar said, the prediction. We predict the cost of an item or a product or even a service transaction, how much it will be. تفضل أحمد. Yes.
Doctor, maybe I will try to explain what
Yes.
I can understand. It's maybe if I want to buy a product or to start a project, I will estimate the cost, how much it will cost me, something like that. يعني حقعد اقدر قديش حيكون التكلفه، قديش حيكلفني في ايش الماتيريالز والى اخره، صح كذا؟
Yes. Now when you design your capstone project and you are assigned to design a product or a device or tangible asset, you need to estimate the cost. That way you can predict if this item will go for mass production, how much it will cost you. So that's why we need the cost estimation. So the cost estimation, it needs to identify actually first two things: the direct cost to the product or to the service, and the indirect. And this is similar to the fixed cost and the variable cost we have learned in the break-even chapter. Here we identify it in a different names. The direct cost that is related to the product or to the service, to the number of product or to the number of service transactions. The indirect cost usually is something that is not directly related. As an example, the raw materials for number of phones or number of cars produced, that is direct cost, but the utilities for the factory, this is not really related to the number of production. It is more of the regular payments that you pay it, regardless of how many production or how many products you're producing, and so on. Machines, how many machines you need. On the other hand, the IT system, the maintenance and operation, the indirect, the management, because the management is not related to the number of production, but the maintenance and operation, yeah, you need to schedule how many machines need to be maintained, and so on. So these two elements, you need to know them about your product or service you are plan to design, so you can do the cost estimation. There are two main approaches for cost estimation. The first one we call bottom up or bottom up approach. The second one is top down or top to down approach. What is the difference between them? Basically, I always explain the difference between them in this example. Think about a product you are designing for the first time in the market, innovative product, and think at the same time of a product that is exist already in the market by numerous or huge number of options. Let's take the first one, which is the unique or the innovative. Can someone give me any innovative product that is rarely to be found in the market or in real life? Any, use your imagination just to use something that is from your inputs. Innovative product, say solar car maybe. Okay, solar car is something innovative because is not exist in commercial. Yeah, we have seen maybe tested and some prototypes, but is not something that in the market. On the other hand, a gasoline car, a regular gasoline car that use gasoline for their engine. This is exist everywhere and with the different prices and different of options. Do we agree about these two examples, right? The first one is the solar car as an innovative, and the second one is the gasoline car, okay? The first one, we use the bottom up approach, not the top down approach. Why? Because we are going to be the first in the market, and the market share for those cars is huge because it is renewable energy or alternative source of energy than the petroleum, and it still is not exist. So if you start to produce it, the demand will be high. So you are now use the bottom up approach, which required to know the cost of the direct and indirect first, and then you come up with the product. On the top to down approach, we use for the gasoline car. Why? Because we need to start with the competition price first. We are not designing something innovative. Actually, we are hitting a market share that is already being consumed by many manufacturers from Asia to Europe to United States and so on. And all these manufacturers, they are producing gasoline cars with the different prices, with different range of options. Okay, so we cannot start with the bottom to up because we need to set our target first, how much we need to have in terms of our product price, and then we start to break down all the needed material based on that price. For example, we are targeting to compete the low cost cars. So the low cost cars are in a range of, let's say, 40,000 to 70,000. I'm just throwing numbers here. It doesn't have to be accurate. So the 40 to 70 is your input. And then you have to start collect all the related direct and indirect costs to build your car to be maintained with this 40 to 70,000 real. This is the top to down approach. But the bottom up approach, no. You start with the materials needed, the different type of cost, whether direct or indirect, until you end up with the result, which is the solar and innovative product that is going to be produced and introduced to the market. And in this case, the input on that one is the material and labor and so on, because you are producing something for the first time. You are not competing, or there is no competition or highly competition in the market. Okay, I'm Samad, yes, your question? I can't hear you. If you are asking using the mic, make sure you are turning on your mic. Um, okay, the chat box. The cost can be affected by the quality in this situation. The quality is already considered a part of the, as you can see here, the, what is the pointer? The indirect cost. From the indirect cost, the quality is part of any type of product or service. But how much you invest, this is something different. Um, أقدم منتج يحتوي منتج محتويات بعد التكاليف. Direct and indirect needs to be collected, both of them, as you can see, from the bottom to up, before you come up with the required price. On the top to down, the indirect and direct also be collected together, but after you already set up the target price or the target cost. So the top to down, the price is the target, or the cost is, in the bottom to up, the component is the input, and the cost will become after that. So you are not setting the target cost, it will be coming after you collect all the cost of the direct and indirect, then it will be the result of those. Okay, so actually, if you think about it, even in real life, without looking to the bottom to up or up to top to bottom, um, when you design something for the first time, you want to prove the concept that is working and we can rely on, or we can use it, and to prove your idea that your concept can be transferred to mass production. So at the beginning, you usually design it, even if you go historical to the car manufacturer, the history of cars, it was built by um, too much of material or too much costly material like iron and steel, and even the designs were not a target. They were just proving the concept that those engines can be used for transportation in a vehicle. Nowadays, this is no more, it's an innovative. We have several different type of car engines and different type of base or chassis of cars. So the manufacturing now is a competition because the supply is huge. So when you design based on the competition and what market share you are targeting. If you are targeting the market share for luxury cars, then you are designing for competing A, B, C, D of cars names that is targeting the same. But think about it also now. Recently, we are seeing the hybrid cars. The hybrid cars, when they are introduced to the market at the beginning until now, they are relatively higher price because it is something still innovative, and those companies who producing those cars still limited. As soon the number of cars that using hybrid, there will be several, and most or all car manufacturing will be able to produce it in the same manner, the price will be decreased compared to now. So it's not about bottom to up or up to bottom, it's more about if you are working on proving concept or something new, you are going to build it by no matter of cost to prove it first. And then after you enter the market, you will rework the design again to reduce or optimize the cost. On the other hand, if you are designing something already exists by several options or many options from other competitors, so you need to set up the price first of your product and then you build on based on that one. I hope that was clear and clarified the difference between them from the bottom up or up to bottom. Now, these two approaches to understand how we estimate. Now, different than approach, there are methods. The method is something that is smaller than the approach. It comes and fits either a bottom to up approach or up to bottom. So if you are now going to ask me this method, is it fit on which in which approach? I will tell you that in both approach. Now, the approach is strategy. The method is an application or technique regardless of which strategy you have selected. So the unit method is something that we all familiar with and we use it in market when we do the grocery, we do and buying our يعني regular shopping سعر الوحدة or سعر اليونت. Okay, when you go and purchase something, that you will ask first about the unit, and then you can estimate the number, the cost of regardless number of extra units. For example, the cost of operating car is 60 cents per mile. For 500 miles, how much it will cost you? You multiply the 500 with the 60, so it will be 300. So to operate the car for 500 miles, it will cost me 300 at the cost of 60 cents per mile. Also, when the cost to build a meter square is 250, the cost to build a 250 meter square house is 2,250. The cost will be that time for the cost per unit. It will be, oh, I'm sorry, the cost build a 250 meter square house at 2,250. So 2,000 per meter square. Okay, so the cost per meter square is 2,250. The cost for the 250 meter square is you multiply it with the 2,000. The slash here, it was not visible to me when I was looking. So this is per meter square. The cost here is per meter square. Think about it. The cost of bottle of water is 50 riyal, 50 halala. The cost of 200 bottle, you will multiply the 50 halala with 200, so you will pay 100 riyal. Okay, clear? I think this is something that is very simple and we all use it. The other method, we're going to learn some methods, and this is all about the costing. It is one of really simple chapters, and most of the methods are common sense and we use them. I will solve some of this example, and I will leave the main for you since it is the same concept. Here is a casting, a dynamic casting. Justin, an ME with a dynamic casting, has been asked to preliminary estimate of the total cost to manufacture 1,500 sections of high pressure gas pipe using advanced centrifugal casting method. Since plus or minus 20% estimate is acceptable at this stage, a unit method estimate is sufficient using the following resources and unit factor estimates. Material 3,000 ton at 45.9 per ton. The tools 1,500 hours at 120 per hour. So it gives you the required quantity or unit, whether unit or hours, and it gives you the cost per unit or per hour. So how much is the total? Basically, you multiply them together. You multiply the 120 with the 1,500. So you get the 180,000. You multiply the 45.9 with the 3,000. So you get the 137. You don't need to worry about the percentage. This is the percentage. It's cumulative to the total cost. But all what we need to know is how much or how we calculate the unit cost and how we calculate the total cost of the total number of units, since we have the unit cost. The other method that is most relatively to industry, the cost index. The cost index, which is we use I to represent the index. It's a ratio of cost today to the past. So when you divide dollars over dollars, you get a ratio. Okay, the ratio معدل. This ratio, it is representing the cost of today to the cost in the past. Indicate the change in cost over time, and this is the meaning of the cost index. Therefore, they account for the impact of inflation. What we need to learn is how we calculate the cost from or using the cost index. The cost index formula, it is, as we can see here, the CT, the cost at time, present time, equal the cost at previous time multiplied with the index of present time over the index of previous time. We didn't say time 0 because time t, it could be 3, that's mean at year 3, and C0 or C0, that time will be, for example, at year 1. So year 1 to year 3 considered to be present, and year 3 to year 1 considered to be, year 1 to year 3 considered to be the previous time, and year T or year 3, it is going to be the present time compared to year 1. So the present time, if you recall in the cash flow, that we use it for the things that only on a comparison to the future. So you can say that is the present. The previous is really represent that is the present in the cash flow, and the present here is something that's similar to the future we had in the cash flow. But those are the terminologies are identified in different manner: present time and previous time. Present time, it could be year 2, previous time could be year 1 or year 0. Present time could be year 10, the previous time could be year 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, any year before 10. Okay. Moving on to see what is the cost index can be found or where it can be calculated, as it says the index I. If we don't have the cost, there are websites that shows the index of those substances or materials, and these are some examples of chemical engineering plant cost index, McGraw-Hill construction index, and so on. Most of raw materials, they have some websites that shows the index, which the ratio between the cost today and previously. It shows and listed and updated occasionally. to solve an example of cost index. Here is an example. I will zoom it in. I can even see it also. Okay. In evaluating the feasibility of a major construction project, an engineer is interested in estimating the cost of skilled labor for the job. The engineer finds the project of similar complexity and magnitude was completed 5 years ago at a skilled labor cost of 360,000. The ENR skilled labor index was 3,496 at year -5. That's mean 5 years back. Then is now 4,038. What is the estimated skilled labor cost? When he gave you the skilled labor cost 5 years ago, it means C naught or CT. Is requiring the cost now and gave you the cost 5 years ago. So what is the required, or what is the given? The given, it was C naught or CT. C naught is the given. Why? Because it is previous 5 years ago, and now it is the required. For the index, he gave you the 4,000 now and the 3,400 5 years ago, which means that this is I naught and this is IT. If you go and apply the formula that we have seen here, C naught equal IT or multiplied with IT over I naught. So C naught is the 360 and IT over I naught, that will give you the cost for time now or present time. Another method, there is any question before we move for other methods? Okay, the factor method is specifically or specially using in estimating the total plant cost. That's mean if you are planning to operate in a factory or manufacturing plant, then factor method that applied, because direct and indirect cost are included in this case. The total plant cost estimate is overall cost, which is using the overall cost factor. We use it or we notify it with H. Total cost of major equipment, we refer to that as CE, cost of equipment. So the cost of equipment multiplied with the overall cost factor will give us the cost estimate or the cost of the planet. Overall cost factor is developed for use with one of two costs: delivered equipment or installed equipment. Let's see the example, and that will make it easier. To find the H, you have to use the formula 1 plus the sigma F, which is the F referred to the direct and the indirect factors that you will see them, or direct or indirect costs, I mean, sorry. So let's see the example. Equipment is expected to cost 20 million delivered to a new facility. A cost factor for direct cost is 0.6, will make the plant ready to operate. An indirect cost factor is 0.25 is used. What will be the plant cost? When it gives you the direct cost factor and the indirect cost factor, you have to add them up plus 1 to get the overall cost factor. If the question or the example stated that the overall cost factor and it gives you immediately 2.86, then you don't need to do any further adding or changing to the factor. You can use it immediately to the formula stated here. The formula stated here is consists of two elements: the cost estimated, the overall factor, remember factor, this is a factor, and the cost of the equipment, whether it's delivered or installed. So when you look to the example, you have to identify first what is the cost of the equipment. The equipment expected to cost 20 million, so this is the cost of the equipment. That means this is CE. Now what remains is H. Now H is one of things. Either it gives you stated directly the total overall cost factor is 2.86, or it breaks it down to two factors, one for the direct and one for the indirect, as we see here in the example. One for the direct, which is 1.61, and one for the indirect, 0.25. You add them, but you don't forget the one. So you add them in addition to one to get the H, which is the total cost factor. After that, you just multiply it with the cost of the equipment and to get the cost estimated for the factor. Okay, now any question so far for the cost factor? The cost capacity, any further methods, you have seen it in the slides. That's mean this is for your own reading. Sometimes I cover it in other semesters. I select few methods for costing because the methods of costing, it's even more than what we are covering this course. Even in the slides you have, or the extended slides, the methods of costing is very huge and big. We here try to touch the surface of cost estimating and know the concept, know the two different approach, and try to use some of those methods of costing. But this is not meaning that we are covering all of them in terms of the cost topic or the costing topic. So whatever here we cover, that means this is the required from you at this level. The remaining, it's for your own reading and extra reading. To explain the example, I'm okay requesting that I need to explain this again. Equipment is expected to cost 20 million delivered to a new facility. A cost factor for the direct is 1.6, will make the plant ready to operate. An indirect cost factor is 0.25 used. What will be the cost of the plant? As we said, the cost factor is specifically for the plant or factories, and the formula for the cost factor is CE, which is the cost of the equipment, multiplied with the H, which is the overall cost factor. When it says overall, that means it consists of different elements, and in this case it is consists of the direct cost factor plus to the indirect cost factor plus 1 to get the H, which is the overall cost factor. As we have in the example, we got the direct and the indirect, we add them in addition to 1 to get the overall cost factor. If the example was stating the overall cost factor, there is no need to do this step, and you can use it immediately multiplied with the cost of the equipment. What we covered here is what is required without mentioning the name of the methods, Abdullah. Any questions so far? Okay, that's for all for now. Inshallah, we'll see you in the next chapter, which is chapter for the nominal and effective interest rate. I hope you can watch that chapter and read it. Try to look up the material before we started, so you get prepared for that chapter, because it's going to be the last, but it needs some kind of reading period, the class, to help you to understand the material smoothly. Wish you all the best, and you soon, inshallah.